All right, that's just bull. This is episode 3. My guest today, I'm excited about it, is Randall Thompson. You're the owner, president. You just shared with me all your titles of it, but you're the guy at this fancy mug company you got. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it? What's the name of your company?
Yeah, it's called Dugout Mugs.
Dugout Mugs.
And just president, founder, but really in the entrepreneurial world, you wear all the hats. So
owner operator, if you will.
Yeah.
So you're going to see pictures pop up every now and then.
Okay.
We're going to talk about we're going to talk the meat of it's going to be the business. We're going to talk about a little bit about baseball first. Even before that, we'll talk about what is on every single person's mind on the planet, which is the coronavirus. And so your staff and your family, everybody, you're good? Everybody's been taken care of? Anybody impacted by it?
No, not yet. Not yet. My mom has a heart condition that she's had a heart attack and stents, and she works for Publix, which is a big grocery chain down in Florida and kind of the Southeast. So I'm a little worried there. But no, so far nobody's been affected by the virus that I know of.
That's good, man. That's good. I saw one guy actually. I don't know anybody that's been impacted. One guy in that baseball group that we're in. We're in a Facebook group with a bunch of players, and I saw one guy had it. Did you see that? I think he posted about his wife, and man, it sounds awful. I mean, I think he was in the hospital for 5 days. And apparently days 2 and 3 are doozies, man. But
no, I haven't seen that. Yeah, it's no joke.
No, it goes without saying to say we've never gone through this before. The last episode was a guy named Steve Smith, he's the head coach at Tennessee Tech, and he put it best. I think he said the whole planet's been humbled. And I was like, yeah, that's probably the best way to put it, and that's what it is.
Yeah, a fellow baseball guy that works for us, he says, "I love a good life shakeup, but this is way too much."
Oh, this is nuts, man.
Yeah.
It can be scary, but I think the human spirit, I believe in it. We'll get through it, you know.
For sure.
We're going to talk about baseball. That's how all this got started for you, really. Go back to you, because some people that are already watching my podcast, it's people that they have kids in high school or they have kids in youth baseball. What kind of player were you as a kid?
Hardworking, very coachable. Loved to learn the game. Not overly talented, but definitely just loved it. Loved the game.
And did you come from an athletic background? Did your parents play or?
No. I ended up being just a genetic blessing somehow because my dad's 5'6", and my mom's 5'6", 6'1".
All right.
Which is not crazy tall for a baseball guy, but I lucked out coming from that. But no athletic background, and really my dad's love was in football. There was just kind of like this unexplainable, I was just drawn to baseball. I love baseball for some reason. And my dad ended up starting to love it as much as I did.
It's funny you say, 6'1's not a real big guy. In the world it is, but you and I both know in the baseball world, I tell people this sometimes, and it's really a big man's game. I know we tend to look at guys like a Jose Altuve. That's not just an exception. That's an extreme exception.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big man's game. I remember I'm 6'3", and I've got some photos of team pictures where I don't think I'm the 10th biggest guy on the team. I mean, it's some massive people.
Yeah, the best way to put it is everybody on the field is sneaky big.
Yeah, they are.
For some reason, you get that uniform on. A baseball uniform kind of shrinks a guy down for whatever reason. But then you see somebody in like their street clothes, or you see them out in the out in the wild, so to speak, and you're like, man, that dude is a massive dude.
Yeah.
And that happens pretty often with baseball guys. They're always sneaky big.
So did you have any? I did some research on some of your interviews, and did you have any aspirations? I mean, most kids do. When you ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? Most of them say some sort of professional athlete. That's not uncommon. Did you have aspirations? Did you think that way when you were 12 and 13?
Yeah. I thought it from a really young age, and I always thought that was the norm. And what I found kind of interesting, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but what I found kind of interesting was the guys that I eventually got to pro ball with, and just having conversation with them. Some of them just saying like, "Oh, this will look good on my resume someday," so that's why I'm here. And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I had some guys talk that way.
Uh-huh.
There was a guy that I played with. I can remember, that he we kind of would make fun of him because you remember Professor Howe? Did you ever watch Gilligan's Island?
No, but I know of it.
So Professor Howe was this pompous millionaire on the island, this stranded island. So he's like, "Oh, Dovey," he would always talk with his teeth clenched. We had a guy that we played like that. He was always talking about his finances. He's going to give this a go for a couple of years, see how it works out. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, "What are you talking about? You're playing pro ball. What else do you want to do? This is it."
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it takes all kinds. I saw that in high school. I saw you tell somebody. So you went to high school, and apparently at some point, I don't know what point, you hit a big growth spurt. You said.
Yeah.
When did you hit this growth spurt?
Yeah, it was insane. So I was a 3-year JV player. My freshman, sophomore, and junior year, I was just a boy playing amongst men. Like I was a very late bloomer, and then just something crazy happened after my junior. So like the summer going into my senior year, kind of like the backside of that spring season in high school, and then going into the summer, like a 5 or 6 month stretch, I just grew 6 inches, and I like it felt like I went from one extreme of strength to another extreme of strength, and I was like, "What is going on?" The ball just started coming out of my hand completely different. The ball came off the bat differently when I was hitting. It all happened within like a 6 month stretch going into my senior year of high school.
So your junior year in high school, you were on the JV team.
Yeah.
Golly, it's funny because I'm obviously older now, and I didn't it's hard to understand things when you're a kid, but working sometimes with families now or parents who think that their kid's not making varsity as a sophomore, their kid's not making varsity as a junior, and you think, and just relax. I mean, it's all going to end the way it's going to end anyway. You're either going to make it or you're not. But it's funny how the design of it all. You have some kids who never played a day of JV baseball, and here you are. You're 17, the coach didn't put you there, and all of a sudden you have this growth spurt, and they're like, "Who's the new guy?" We get somebody from the other school. So you started throwing. I saw that. What were you throwing? How hard do you think what did you live at as a junior? What was your average fastball? How fast?
I didn't start pitching until my senior year.
Wow.
Yeah. But I would say that if you try to get me off the mound as a junior or something like that, I was probably throwing like mid to upper 70s.
And then your senior year, you're throwing mid to upper 80s.
Yeah. I remember I went to a UCF baseball. I grew up going to UCF baseball camps, and those guys saw me grow up from the time I was like 8 years old until I was 18. And they kind of did the same, kind of like, "Hey, who's this guy?" They kind of shook their head and like, what the heck? But yeah, I remember being there, and I was like, "Yeah, hey guys, I'm pitching now," and they're like, "Oh, okay," and they all know me as like the good kid that works hard but just hasn't put it together, and I was there, and I was throwing like 87 to 89 miles per hour at the camp, and they're like, "What the hell is going on here?"
Yeah. What have you been eating?
Yeah, but yeah, so it happened that quickly. 6-7 month period. It just gained 10 miles per hour on my fastball, and just all sorts of things happen.
So then you end up going to Florida Tech.
Mm-hmm.
So you go there and you pitch. Obviously, you did well. And then after college, you go as an undrafted free agent to the Blue Jays, right?
Yep, that's correct. After my senior year.
We got some fancy. Look at this. How this stuff works. So did you think you were going to get drafted?
Yeah, I did. Well, I mean, when I was a JV player my junior year, no, I didn't. And then my senior year, I wasn't getting recruited. I got just a preferred walk-on spot to a D2 school. And then I got there, and that summer going into my freshman year of college, I worked with this guy that was a Olympic trainer up in Claremont. And I was in ridiculous shape, and I got to college and I was just studding out. And everybody was kind of like, why is this guy here? And it happened so quickly. I'm still perceiving myself as this little pipsqueak that's playing 3 years of JV. So, it hadn't really hit me on like how good I could have been or how good I was. But by the time I was a sophomore in college, I thought I legitimately had a shot to get drafted.
Yeah. And so you look, man, I went, this was kind of confusing to me. You signed as an undrafted free agent with the Blue Jays, which for people who don't know, there's a draft in June, and then there's a bunch of signs after that, people who don't get drafted. And there's a lot of strategy. There can be strategy behind it or whatever. Sometimes it's, it's financial because of certain bonuses. They say, look, this guy said I wasn't going to play, and they just pick him up anyways. Sometimes it's seniors who don't really have a lot of options. But there's people sign a lot as free agents that don't get drafted. As a matter of fact, there's a story. One of my old friends that I was a roommate with him for several years. There was a guy named Jeff Tam who walked on to Florida State. He didn't get any offers out of high school. He walked on there, didn't get drafted, and he basically did a tryout with the Mets. He was an undrafted free agent, and he had a big league career. He ended up getting to the big leagues with Oakland. So that guy never got picked for anything and ended up going all the way. But I looked at your numbers.
He's a recruiting guy. He's a recruiting guy at Florida Tech now.
He is. Do you know him?
Jeff Tam is. Yep. Yeah, I know Jeff.
You know him well?
Tam. Just like no, I wouldn't say I know him well. But we've interacted plenty of times when he was at BCC and now when he's at Florida Tech.
That's right. Because where is Florida Tech? What's the town?
Melbourne.
That's where he's from. That's right.
Yeah.
He was my roommate for a couple of years. I haven't talked to him in years because I think he's avoided any kind of social media. So I'm going to find him. But he was a good guy. I had a lot of good times with Jeff.
Yeah, he seems to be a very nice guy.
Yeah, except for you ever seen the prank where, have you ever done the prank? Don't do it. You give somebody a heart attack, man, where you're sitting, somebody's asleep in the car and they slam the brakes and start screaming like they're having a head-on collision.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. The first time I ever got introduced to that prank, they did it to me, man. We were coming home from a late night. And I'm telling you, man, when I heard the screams, I thought it's over. We're dying. I mean, we're about to die. I'm not going to have any time to call anybody.
This I assume this was before anybody could record you on their phone.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah. we went out, some night, and right when I got in the passenger seat, I was out, man. And they decided that, hey, man, let's slam on the brakes and see if we can give this man a heart attack. And I'm telling you, man, it was the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced. But that's Jeff Tam. Guy named Brian Dahlbeck did that to me too. Hey, man, but I looked at you. So you're with the Blue Jays. I tell you what, I'm shocked, man. I'm shocked that you only had the 1 year. Shocked. I'm looking at the numbers. I got them right here.
Yeah.
Uh, you pitched 47 innings in rookie ball,
Uh-huh.
right? You had 44 strikeouts and 12 walks. So you're almost at a punch out an inning.
Right.
You had a whip of 1.14, and for people who don't know, that's credible. I mean, that's not a bad number. Your ERA was a 2.87.
Mm-hmm.
What am I missing?
Yeah. There's kind of well, I mean, I look back on it now and it's like not too funny of a story, but I guess it's kind of funny. So I was in extended spring training the year that after that year. And the Blue Jays system was so backed up at that point in time, bunch of studs and but really what happened was I was in extended spring training, and not the most delightful experience being in extended spring training, especially
It's awful.
Going to college and being around a bunch of guys that you love being around and all playing for the same reason, and it being fun baseball and it being, just a pure form of baseball. And then you get to extended and you're just like, what? You're like a 23-year-old kid and you're like, what is going on here? But anyways, the Blue Jays say, hey, it's like 4 days before they announce the teams for short seasons. And they're like, hey, exciting news, guys. We're going to get on 2 buses and we're going to go over to St. Pete to watch the Rays play the Blue Jays. We got tickets for everybody. And so before we took off on these buses, I got on the PA mic on the bus, and I freestyle rapped. And I just talked about just pretty much just how miserable a life it is to be in extended spring training. And I probably said some, like, in this freestyle rap, I probably said some questionable things I probably shouldn't have said about like the coaching staff and stuff like that. So 2 days before, this was like 4 days before they announced, and then like 2 days later, they called me in and they just released me. They said they don't see me performing at the higher levels. And I was the only dude that got the axe. So they never came out and said that like my freestyle rapping is what got me the boot, but and I wasn't really pitching that well and extended anyways. It just wasn't very competitive. It's just hard to get up and want to compete in that environment. But my freestyle rap might have gotten me a ticket home early.
It might have carved the path. For people who don't know, extended spring. So every there's spring training in March, and then minor leaguers and big leaguers, you break for camp. You go to your respective towns or cities that you're going to play in, and then they have short season ball. They have most organizations have 2 short season places, rookie balls, if you will, that start in June. And if you don't make one of the long season clubs, you basically have spring training for another 3 months, and you scrimmage early in the morning, and it's not fun. And you're right. So, and you being a little bit older probably grew on you. I mean, probably started to rust on you a little bit more, but no rap career, huh?
No, it's all good though. One of my good buddies, and then he's working for us now. He got up to AAA with the Cardinals, and I kind of look back on it, and he had a tough time getting over the hump after he got released, because he was so close to tasting it. And I look back on it now, and I see it as such a blessing, because it was hard for me to get up and over the hump. My identity was so tied up in the game. But at the same time, I never tasted baseball at a professional level at a high enough level for me to actually ever feel like I had a chance, which I think ended up being a blessing for me, because it got me on the path that I needed to get to quicker anyways.
Man, it's funny. when you tie it to identity, I remember. So my oldest son is 23, and he's a good baseball player. We're different. He didn't have all the the attributes that I was given, but he swung the bat well. He'd run through a brick wall for you. And he was going to get to play a season of junior college ball. And he went and played it, and he was going to transfer to another school. And he goes out there and tries out. I take him up there, up in North Texas. He tries out. It's a one-on-one tryout with the coach, and he makes the team. And I thought I didn't think he looked good. And we got in the car with the coach. Says, "Come over to the office." We go over there, and I'm like, "Hey, have you been working out and all this?" And yeah, I just didn't feel good today and all this. So anyway, we sit in this coach's office. The coach is like, "He's in, right? We can't wait to have him. We're going to sign him." And we leave there, and he's pretty excited, right? This is around Christmas time several years back. So, we're high-fiving and singing Kumbaya, and, everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day we're in the living room. He says, "Hey, can I talk to you, Dad?" Of course. And he's kind of tearing up. And he says, "Hey, I don't think I'm going to go. I'm not going to go play baseball." And I said, "All right. You shouldn't go, And I said, but I was worried because he was tearing up. So I'm thinking, man, what is it because of a girl or something's holding him back?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what's the reason? He said, well, you've told me before, I got to be all in or all out. And I'm just not all in, And I said, all right, well, that's fair. But you seem emotional. I'm concerned for you. I'm worried. And then this is what he tells me. He says, well, we're a baseball family, And I said, oh my God, I hope if I've ever made you think that that's what we are, I apologize, because there's so much more to our lives than this game, but you're right. It does, me playing 7 years, it ties you into it.
Mm-hmm.
And people identify you, other people identify you as a ball player.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is you identify yourself as that, and to your son's point, and you'll know, and you'll agree with this, that whenever you decide, like whenever you grow up and you decide that you're going to be a professional baseball player, you're not really thinking about Plan B, and nor are you like trying to construct a Plan B, because to your son's point, you're either all in or you're all out, and when you're all in, it's just like that's what it is, and you don't really want to draw anything else up because you don't want to do anything else.
Yeah, you didn't know. I didn't even know in the minors. I mean, how broke I was. I didn't even realize it. I didn't think about it. As long as I had money for a little bit of food and a CD I could purchase, I was good.
Yeah, and I look at that completely different as well now, because I'm sure the climate the climate's a lot different now than it was when you were playing. But think about it from this perspective. You're telling me that I go in, I just eat dirt for 4, maybe 5 years, because 4 years I'm gonna know one way or the other. But I go and I eat dirt for 4 years, and the upside of it is minimum $600,000 in my pocket every year. There's no other profession on this planet that you can go in, put in 4 hard years, and the upside is 600 G's.
Right. I know it. I mean, and that's kind of what it was similar then. I think that atmosphere is probably similar now. I don't think it's changed much. I mean, I think, you got a whole country in Dominican of players who are devoting their lives to it in hopes to get some of that money that's being passed around. And it's big, but it's real small before you get there, isn't it? I mean, it's the money they give you in the minors. It's embarrassing.
It's very,
well, I'm actually going to do a podcast one day about how awful the pay is. I mean, it's below. I've kind of done a study of it a little bit, and it's below poverty levels.
Yeah, I'm not like, this is no exaggeration. Those 9 weeks, because extended spring training's 10 weeks. I got released like just before the 10th week, or right in the middle of it or something. In those 9 weeks of extended spring training, I'm not joking. They handed us an envelope we were off on Sunday, so every Saturday when the day ended, they handed us an envelope. This is the only pay that we got. It was $38 in cash.
Right,
and so people would say, "Oh, how do you survive?" Well, they put you in a hotel, and then they have somebody like cater food it's trash food, and they say that the pay that they should be paying you is going towards your living expenses and your food expenses. So the $38 is for Sunday, since they don't cater for us on Sunday, for us to cover our meals. So our argument was always like, what if we need deodorant? Like, what do we do? But yeah, dude, the pay it's a joke.
$38 a week. That's insane, man.
Yeah, it's stupid.
You know, now my mentality now as a 40-year-old, if my son was doing it, I'd almost say, just come home, man. It's ridiculous. What are you doing? I mean, you can go out there and wash windows and make more money. But
yep.
So look, man, the story is, I read multiple times, so I know this is the story, but I want you to touch on it. You're sitting in the dugout or somewhere on the field. One of your coaches, he's creating this hitting drill, and he's cutting all these bats like in half. And you're seeing all these barrels. Hold on, man. Let me get a refreshment. You see that? See what I did there?
Plug it in there. Yeah.
You see all these barrels, and you said, "Hey, man, I think I can make a mug out of this." I mean, what made you think that? Did you think business at all? I mean, is that when the idea came up, or did you have something like that before?
Well, that was the first time that the idea came up. Yeah. I've always had this really strong itch to be creative, and I also always had this unexplainable desire to be my own boss, whatever, for whatever that means. Which that's taken on a different shape from what I used to think it meant to what it means now. But yeah, I was at Florida Tech. It was after I got released. I was the pitching coach at Florida Tech. Matt Mercurio, who was the guy that was cutting bats in half, he was just there sawing them in half with a handsaw, and there was just a bunch of loose bat barrels sitting in the dugout. And I guess it's something I've been blessed with, is to be able to see things and then see ideas, or to see opportunities. And I saw that barrel, and I examined it, and I was just like, it was a cupped one. So I was like, I wonder if you could just keep going with that cupping and turn this into a mug. And yeah, so that's how the whole idea started.
What was the batting drill worth a damn?
I don't know.
What was the drill?
I was the pitching coach. I don't know. I'd have to ask Merck. I'm not sure. He called it short bat. I don't know.
It seems costly, Everybody cut your bats in half, and we're gonna teach you a thing or two.
Well, he would do it with broken bats.
Yeah. So you go. Look, this is the part that I like, man. I like all this. We're gonna get to what these bats really are. And by the way, so your website is www.dugoutmugs.com, and we're gonna actually, I got pretty fancy, man, with these photos.
Drop it on them.
Yeah. So that's a website.
Cool.
That's what it looks like. And then I like this piece, man. I like this. This is where it's at right here. So I like the fact that we're going to talk about them here in a minute, but there's that handwritten product. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
And then you guys got really, really in depth on the steps on how to operate the machinery with the 3 steps there. Pop it, pour it, and swig it.
Swig, yeah. Well, you'd be really surprised. So we've done a lot of belly to belly sales. We'll go out to tournaments and something called Rust Mat, which is which is like a round robin thing for college kids. But we'll go out under tents and we'll sell these things. And as obvious as it is to you, and as super obvious as it is to me, there's a good portion of people that come up, they look at it and they say, well, what do I just pour right into it? And we're like, yeah. And like, oh, okay. So, we try to simplify it and just make sure that anybody that sees it, they get it.
Well, so God, there's so many ways. Here's what I liked about it. It says that at some point you had the idea and you said, hey, I'm going to get started. And I think there's some value into that. People who want to start a business. You went down, you bought a miter saw, and you bought a wood burning kit.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? And you try to do a couple yourself, and it didn't end well. They weren't looking good.
Miserable. Yeah, and that's all part of it. It's well, first off, I had no idea how to start or what to do.
Yeah.
And there's the expression of like, if you don't know whether to go left or right, just jump up and down. I jumped up and down for quite a long time. And you start and you're asking a bunch of questions and you don't even really know what questions to ask. And the secret ends up becoming you start asking better questions, and that leads to better answers. And then eventually you have something much quicker than,
I think a lot of people have great ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Sure.
they never leave the head and go into any kind of execution. There's no execution because they say, well, I got to develop a plan. I got to write a business plan. 100 things get in the way, and sometimes plans get in the way. The best advice I could give, I think, to a business person, and is to do kind of what you did, which is just go. Take the swing. And at some point, you had made a comment that it stings when somebody, like when baseball was over, somebody just wakes up one morning and says, "You're just not good enough."
Mm-hmm.
And it's that simple, and it's that over. I mean, that's what it is. It's a sense of finality. But you mentioned how there were parallels between business and baseball, and you said you just got to keep throwing pitches, which is just another way to say keep swinging, right?
Mm-hmm.
You swing and miss. Don't put the bat on the rack. Just keep hacking, man. And eventually something might happen. There's no guarantees in life, but something might happen. When you were, I didn't have a picture of this, but I wish I did. I know that when I got out of baseball, I went back to college. And so I started college at 24, 25 years old. And it was hard, man. And I did every job you can imagine. I mean, I just needed income, right? I just had a son that was born. And so people said, hey, do you want to make some money doing it? They didn't even have to finish the sentence. I was like, I'll take it, And so I saw that you ended up getting a job, but you were doing everything you could. And this is big because people sometimes they're too proud to do it. One of the gigs I saw that you had was you would dress up as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
At kids' parties.
Mm-hmm.
What does that thing pay? What does that pay?
I think I got paid like chicken nuggets and like $75.
I guess $75, by the way. I told my wife, I said, that's got to pay about $75. But you know what, man? Some people are too proud to do it, right? I mean, you're making money as you're trying to pursue something.
Yeah, this is kind of the part. This is kind of the part that I have a difficult time talking about because anybody that's done anything, like all great things are done in an extreme. Like if you want to accomplish something, most times you got to take extreme measures in order to do it. So when you say that, you got into college at 24, 25, you had a kid and you were doing whatever it took, like I feel that, and I have a hard time talking about it because I feel like I have to fight back emotions for it, because I know how much hard work that goes into stuff like that. So for whatever reason that gets me. So I try to avoid this whole part of the conversation because it's has the potential to get you know, you feel me.
I do, yeah. I'll tell you, man. I'll to even make your point more. There were times I think I shared on my last podcast where I was motivated for multiple reasons to go back to school because there was one coach actually who told me, "Oh, you'll never go back. You'll never do it." So it always stuck with me. I'll show him, right? And there were times I could be, I was working some odd job, some job I hated, by the way, and I'm writing some paper that I don't want to write at 2:00 in the morning. My wife is asleep. Everybody's asleep, and I got to get up at 6:30 to go to work. And man, just out of exhaustion, I'm sitting here typing, and I'm wiping a tear off my face because I'm just like, I'm spent, man. Where's the silver lining, right? It took me a long time. It took me almost 3 years when I got out of baseball. And I guess in the scheme of life, that doesn't sound like a long time. It sure felt like it. Those 3 years, man, I remember when I first got what I felt was a career move. I got an offer from a company, and I finally felt for the first time when they made me an offer and it was nothing. The offer was, I think my salary was, $24,000, and I was like, might as well be 24 million. I'm in.
Yeah.
Daddy's coming home, right? but and then you just you just got to keep going, man. Sometimes it's okay sometimes we got to wear Spider-Man suits. We got to make it.
Sometimes you do, yeah. Where I think people overlook the equation. A lot of people talk about working hard, and people talk about working smart, but where the equation gets lost sometimes is the long part of that. You gotta put in the time. It takes a long time for things to develop and for things to take shape. So I feel you. And nothing happens by accident. It's most times it's your reality is based on a result of how much hard work or not that you put into something.
Yeah. So we're going to get into dugout mugs a little more here, and people can look and they see, what the dugout mugs are behind you. At this point, they know it's a mug. And did you start in 2016?
Yeah.
Started in 2016. And I got to tell you, I make a joke, and some people may read because I put on my post today, I advertised, and my last sentence was, I kind of hate him because it's such a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks, man.
And yeah. And I'm telling you, man, there's a part of me that, I'm real proud of you, and I'm real envious of it, though, man. To me, it is I just so wish I had thought of it because it's just awesome. And I think that I'll tell you this. I do this, and so you can see this is one of the Oracle ones you guys did for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
And I just ordered some today for this podcast because guys that are going to own it, guys that are gracious enough to attend with me, I'm going to send them one. I'm going to send them one, and it's going to have, thanks for on the podcast. Unfortunately, since you own the company, you're not going to get one. You won't get much of a gift, but I do appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I'll make one for myself.
Hey, you know what, man? People who are in business. So there's so many ways that I can describe. You can do it for Mother's Day, Father's Day, birthday gifts, bachelor parties. It goes on and on and on how you can do these. It's very unique. A lot of people hate when they do sales. They hate doing cold calls, just going in and greeting somebody and not knowing what's going to happen. Me, I love cold calls. I just do. I like it's like being on deck. You got the butterflies, and you are a little scared, but you can't wait to do it. And so I will tell you, I've tried different campaigns over 20 years of my life and being in the business world, where in a campaign can just be anything you leave behind. Without question, my response to these, I'll go back and I leave these and I put my business card, and I kind of reference that I played somehow, and so they'll understand what the bat is for. They'll understand how it corresponds.
Mm-hmm.
Which is your next question is going to be, why don't I have 1,000 of them then? Every time I've dropped that off with the business card, I get a response every single time, every time. Awesome. And so they'll say, oh wow. I remember one time I went to a place and I was going to leave it behind, and the receptionist goes, well, there's the owner right over there. And it was, I said, oh man. And so I go over to him, and it's wrapped up still. And he's talking to some of his other managers, and I just introduced myself. And I said, hey, look, I know it's probably hard for you to get away. I want to leave you a very unique business card, and I left it to him. Well, he unwraps it right there. He says, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And so he took me in his office, and a week later he had signed business with me. So
awesome.
So it's cool, man, for people who,
that's cool.
They need to check out the website for sure. Tell me how, before we get into making them, how you make them, what's the process? This is what I saw. This is where, well, I'll let you tell. So tell me, you had the first year, I think I read where you did like about 70,000 in sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you were basically just peddling them at that point as hard as you could, right? What was the process? Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I launched in June of 2016, and that first 6 months was miserable, just because I was working a full-time job, and then I was trying to make this happen. And the full-time job that I was working was I was working in a paint store, but I was like in this management position that like it was very demanding, and I was working a bunch there, and then I was progressively having better months sales over sales with this company. And I started playing in my head, like, am I not doing this full time because I'm not doing it full time? Like, what do I do? And I was just exhausted and just working a bunch and just working around the clock, trying during the day doing the paint store, and then early mornings and late at night doing Dugout mugs. And the process was hooks in my ceiling and engraver in my living room and boxes everywhere, and just making it work. And then after that, the following year, 2017, I ended up linking up with who's my business partner now, Chris. I left my full-time job. He had a bunch of other things that he was doing that he completely killed. He was an entrepreneur, business guy. He killed everything, and him and I took it on together full-time, both, and we ended up just blowing up that year.
Yeah, you went from being a $70,000 a year in sales revenue to a little over $1 million.
Right. Yeah.
That's nuts. And I guess as entrepreneurs, everybody's kind of thinking, that's kind of the first number you want to hit, right? You want to hit that $1 million mark, which is not easy to do. And then, so now you guys, you got your stride going now. Things are starting to link up. You're starting to get the process. So at this point, when you're doing that much business, you're moving out of your house, right? As far as your work, you're getting a warehouse. How does that work?
Yeah, we did move out of my living room, and we moved into this baseball bat company that was in Lake Wales, Florida, which is in Central Florida. And that ended up falling apart. They just couldn't, like, as we were growing, they couldn't keep up with the volume. And then we moved on to another company that already was like a promotional products company. and they had laser engravers, and so they started lasering and fulfilling for us. And then we started growing a whole lot more, and the price that they were charging us, we started looking at the numbers, and we're like, it just doesn't make sense to work with these guys anymore because they weren't coming off of the price. So then we went and found our own location. We bought a whole bunch of lasers. We hired people out, and we centralized our business. And so now we have our own roof, and we're completely operating out of our own facility now.
So I was reading, I guess you get these barrels shipped to you, and you're not just the barrels now. We're talking shot glasses, bottle openers, and wine glasses. But you got to explain, right. How do you make by the way, the wine glass, how do you make that? It looks like the barrel and the end, you put them together like that?
No, what we do is we just take the billet that makes a baseball bat, and we just spin many baseball bats out of the billet. Yeah, there it is. That's the whole lineup there. That's the whole lineup. Yeah, that's for Anthony Rizzo's foundation.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So they have so you got the wine glass, you got the mug for anything, the bottle opener, shot glass, or the shot bat, I guess. So these barrels are sent to you. You put a sealant on them, double seal them, right?
Yeah.
And then they sit there for a month.
Right.
Why do they sit there for a month? What's the purpose of that?
It's cure time. Just allow them to harden up to a certain level to protect the wood.
How'd you learn that? I mean, who guided you with that?
A lot.
Just learn as you go.
Uncle Google.
That's all right.
Yeah,
I got
Google.
Uncle Google. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uncle Google comes in handy.
Yeah, for sure.
When did you get the MLB? It's an endorsement. What do you call it?
License.
A license.
Yeah, all the years are starting to fuse together for me a little bit, but it was October of 2018 that we got an MLB license. So it was right before the biggest time of the year for us is fourth quarter, because a majority of our sales are online, and people scooping up Christmas gifts, and so we got it right before November and December of 2018, and just took our business to a whole nother just exploded it.
Yeah, well, 2018. So in 2017, you went a little over $1 million. 2018, you doubled that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is that significant to getting the license, to showing that you have that kind of growth?
So what, I guess kind of the process of things was, we proved the concept of just like customizing the mug. I wanted to just put like Randall's mug on there. I just put it on there. And then, MLBPA, the Players Association. So they have the rights to the players' names, signatures, likeness. We got a license with them, and they gave us a minimum guarantee. So how much you have to do in sales each year, and we blew past that, and that then opened up conversations with Major League Baseball. So we proved the concept of customizing. We proved the concept with MLBPA stuff, and then we got the attention of Major League Baseball, and we got a license with them, and it's going well.
It's going well indeed. So you, after doubling it in 18, you doubled that again in 19.
Yeah.
Wow, man. This thing's getting out of hand. Getting out of hand.
I hope it keeps getting out of hand for sure. Yeah, it's cool. It's I haven't stopped to smell the roses at all, but yeah, it's cool.
So as this thing is, do you see an exit strategy for it, or do you think that it's something you're going to carry on for a while?
I don't know. I don't know. I go back and forth with it all the time. I'm kind of, maybe exit, maybe I don't know. I have no idea.
You know what? Go ahead.
Go ahead. It's just hard for me to say, because I don't even know what that looks like. Like there's conversations going on in which from the beginning we've tried to put things in place to eventually sell it. But I don't know. Not sure.
You know what I've seen, man? People that, because this is something that you've developed and grew organically. It's truly from the dirt up, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I think sometimes, man, when you talked about the perspective of being your own boss, people a lot of times don't know what that means. It means you're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. Yeah. And it can be exhausting. But I think too, it's hard. It probably will be, even if the time comes, and I hope the day you get to sell it, you make out like a bandit. But it's hard to sell sometimes because it's yours. You sometimes maybe feel married to it because it's your baby. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I definitely do. And it's as the process has gone on. So June of this year will be 4 years, and that's 4 years of launch. There was about a year ahead of that I was trying to figure out what, like, just the most basic stuff ever. So I'm 5 years into this, and I'm just now in this whole pandemic shit going on. Sorry, it's shit, but this whole pandemic thing going on.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was getting to a level where I was finally learning the proper grip strength on the business, because it's so difficult, because like you're saying, it's your kid. You don't want to squeeze it too tight, but you also don't want to let it go too loose. And I felt like I was finally, like, I was starting to see the path. I was kind of seeing how everything was going to continue to kind of roll out, and I was kind of loosening up, but not too much on the grip strength. And then the whole economy just pivoted in about a 48-hour period. But it'll be all right. But yeah, definitely, this is definitely my firstborn child.
I thought about that. I assumed that the majority of your business is online, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it has to be a very big percentage of it, right?
Yeah, 90%.
And so with the economy, everybody's being hit. I think everybody's sales are going to go down almost in every industry. With some, but I would think that you probably get hit less than the brick and mortars.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a blessing that we're not retail heavy.
Yeah.
Because that's tough. That would be a tough situation to be in right now. For sure.
Are you going to double it this year? I mean, this pandemic's going to get in the way, but if it doesn't, you're going to double it again? You're going to keep your trend?
I have no doubt we will.
Really?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I was expecting you to say, that's going to be hard. I'm not sure I'm going to do it.
No, we definitely are. We didn't sell any. We sold just a very small percentage of our revenue last year was on Amazon, and we're putting resources into Amazon this year, and that's just that alone has the capability of doubling our business. And last year in the fourth quarter, we said we try to get really aggressive on our predictions of what we were going to do, and we far exceeded those expectations or those predictions. So we ran out of inventory, and our staff wasn't quite at the level that it should have been. This year, I'm going to take what I think it's going to be, and I'm going to double that. And you don't want to get too crazy, because then you put yourself in a pickle with inventory. But we're going to be ready to crush it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, I think it's fair for anybody who sees this to know that when you order, this is where I think you guys even become more. The service that you guys provide is, man, it's lightning fast. I mean, you basically go online, you can either buy something that you already have, which, by the way, there's something. Hopefully, we'll have an opening day, and I saw on your website, for people who want to see it, you've looked like you've discounted the price on opening day mugs that you guys probably already made.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a collector's item, since this will be the only opening day that's been that didn't happen. I mean,
yeah.
And so you can say, hey, man, this opening day didn't happen. But anyways, when I do it, I give you guys a design, to one of your guys, and you'll get back a printout of what it'll look like. And I mean, I don't know if it's always the case, but it's less than an hour. And then that thing's, I mean, you pay for it and I'll have it in a couple of days. I mean, it's a fast process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, something that I've prided myself on this whole thing is just keeping everything so simple. And when you keep things so simple, you're able to scale it. And kind of what you're saying is, you get something back quickly, it ships out quickly. It's because we put together processes, and then also just the product in general is just simple, but it works.
Yeah. What would you do, man, if you went into a warehouse? How many employees do you have?
Everything that makes the company go round. There's probably, on a daily basis, there's probably about 20 people that make the company go around. So
you go into the warehouse one day, they're not expecting you, and some guy's on the mic and he's doing a freestyle rap. You sending him on his way, or are you saying, hey, man, I totally get it. I totally get it.
We bring it full circle. I'm probably firing his ass.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's going to send him on the right path,
Yeah, he's got it coming.
It's funny.
So your fiance,
yep.
Fiance or wife now?
No, wedding got canceled. We were supposed to get married at the end of March, and we postponed it until November.
Oh, so man, you scared me there for a second. When you said it got canceled, I was like, oh no. Did a little more homework. No. Hey, you said that she had a quote, and it was pretty sweet, man. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. She said that I'm leaving my mark on the game of baseball in my own unique way. And I absolutely love that quote.
It's awesome, man. You should put it on a mug.
Yeah, I should. It should be sitting back behind me right now. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, because when it's pretty insightful, and she gets it, because we are baseball players in the end. I mean, it's not our complete identity. One of your best sellers here that I saw that I liked. If you pour it, I will drink it. I will drink.
Yeah.
That's the Field of Dreams, play on the Field of Dreams, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
This is the one I like the best, though. This is the one I think dads should get their kids, which is the one that says, just don't suck.
Oh.
Don't suck today or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I would have to. I wouldn't be able to pull it off the top of my mind. I don't know what you would have to search, but I know what you're talking about.
Good Mother's Day, Father's Day stuff there. And by the way, just when people say that you got, you're endorsed by MLB, you got people don't understand what's going on here. You're talking about Pudge Rodriguez.
Yeah.
If anybody doesn't know who he is, they should go and turn the podcast off. And then you got, especially this guy. Look at this guy.
Yeah, Ozzie Smith.
Wizard.
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorites, man. We got drafted the same year. It's Chipper Jones.
Yeah, he's a stud. That was my childhood hero.
Was it?
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And then we ended up working with his agent And I remember like studying who Chipper Jones's agent was when I was a kid, and just pretty much just like mapping out my path to the big leagues, try to be like Chipper Jones. And so it seems kind of, and I have a photo with Chipper Jones when he was doing a signing at a Sports Authority years ago.
Yeah.
Just that was one of the cooler moments. And what was so cool about that as well is when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, the Braves ordered 3,000 dugout mugs from us, and they distributed them throughout the stadium. And me and my family and my fiance, we went to the game, and there was just thousands of people walking around the park with Chipper Jones dugout mugs. So that was a really, really cool moment. Yeah.
Did you get to meet him?
Nope.
Ah, man, that stinks. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you a quick Chipper Jones story. So in the last podcast, I love to project these players. And I don't know, look, man, whenever we hear about these first rounders, we start sizing them up real quick, right? Oh, this is the guy, okay. Yeah. Big money,
Yeah.
And so when I was being recruited, when I thought, the draft was coming, I was told I was drafted. The team that scouted me the most was the Atlanta Braves. I would have bet that's who was going to get me. And in fact, the guy here in Houston was named Red Murph. And do you know who Red Murph is?
No, it's a big league name though.
Oh, big league name. Well, let me tell you how big league it is. Red Murph signed Nolan Ryan. And the reason I know that is because every time I was with Red Murph, he reminded me that he signed Nolan Ryan. But I would do the same, right? But he was an old timer in my book, but he was coming around. He was calling me on the phone a lot right before the draft. And he told me, look, the Braves have the first pick, and they're going to go for this kid out of Florida, right? This shortstop, this hot rod named Chipper, And then I don't know if they had a second round pick, but he says, Craig, they're going to go for you in the third, man. Are you willing to sign? I'm like, oh, hell yes. You had me at Chipper, man. Let's go. and then I fell all the way down. I mean, the Padres got me in the seventh, so I don't know what happened. But when I saw Chipper Jones for the first time, I didn't see him in rookie ball, but when we were both 19, we were in the South Atlantic League. And he was still a shortstop at the time. And in the first half, when I saw him, look, when I saw Derek Jeter when he first came through, I told this the other day as well. And I was like, he didn't look special to me, right? I totally missed. But Chipper Jones, when I saw him, I'm like, man, this cat.
Stud.
Yeah, man, he looks like he's going to be something. I mean, even with the way he walked, it just looked – this guy can play, man. I mean, there's something about him. I think in the first half, these are probably these numbers are probably blown out. But, like, in the first half, they were like the last series in the first half and the second half. In the first half, he was hitting about 240, and I think he had 40-something errors in the first half.
It's awful.
Awful. And he had like 30 RBIs. So nothing terrible except the errors. And then the last series of the year, you look at his numbers, and he's over 300. He's got 20 bombs. And I think he made less than 5 errors in the second half. All of a sudden, something clicked. But you could see it. In the first half, you could kind of throw a pitch. I was playing third, but the swing looked beautiful, but he was just off. He, fouling balls off. In the second half, he fouled nothing off. I mean, everything was he was just painting gaps, man. And you said, the guy's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's a can't-miss guy. I know that when I get him on this podcast, I did it. I nailed it. I'm going to get him on. That's going to happen.
I don't see why not. Put it out there.
It's going to happen, I'm telling you. I don't know if it'll happen next week, but it's coming. I'm going to get Chipper Jones on here. I sent him a message the other day. I tweeted him to see if I could get lucky. and I told him that we both got drafted in the same year, and he had to go ruin everything. I stuck around the minors for 7 years, hopefully that he would stay with me. He went and ruined it and had a Hall of Fame career, so he owes me. But
he does owe you.
He owes me, man. I don't know if he reads those tweets. He probably has somebody doing it for him.
No, I think it's him.
All right, man. Well, look, I'm going to ask you two baseball questions here.
Let's do it.
Right now, so are you a Braves fan today? You watch a lot of baseball today?
No, when I got released, I kind of stopped watching, and then this past year in the postseason, I really got into it. But I would just say I'm a baseball fan. I don't have a team I'm loyal to anymore. Just love baseball.
Being in Houston, you kind of become an Astros fan again, because they're all around here. And I bought tickets and split some season tickets with a guy. And then they didn't have a very good offseason. It's a beautiful stadium.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But they didn't have the best offseason.
No.
And so this whole pandemic might be doing them some favors right now.
I think just overall, I think that was good for baseball. The amount of buzz that was going on and like conversation, it just kind of got a lot of people interested in baseball, and there was some good that came out of that. Not necessarily for the Astros, but for baseball in general.
My thought, without getting too deep in it, was, whether it be the Astros or somebody else, I thought it was inevitable. When with the advancements of technology, you're like, man, these guys are going to try to get an edge somewhere. Somebody's going to be doing it.
Sure.
But anyways, who's the best player? We'll end with a subjective question here. You can't say Mike Trout.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the greatest player in baseball?
Right now?
Right now. That's not named Mike Trout.
That's not named Mike Trout. Oh, man. Best player. It has to be a position player?
No.
Best player in baseball that is not Mike Trout.
Yeah, all the players go into a pool and you get to draft them. Who's your first pick?
Oh, boy. I'm putting some good thought into this one. You know who okay, so somebody that could be like a super stud. He's super talented, but that hasn't quite figured out how to play the game yet. Is Ronald Acuna?
Mm-hmm.
He has the potential to be really good. He's already really good.
Yeah.
But I kind of the intangibles set aside, I think just talent alone, I would probably take Ronald Acuna.
You would?
Yeah.
Can't go wrong there. I would. There's a bunch of guys, but who I've really gone to admire here is Anthony Rendon.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him in the playoffs last year, and the guy's ridiculous.
He's a silent assassin.
Silent assassin, man. I don't know what.
Yeah, he goes with pitches. He's a really good hitter and good defensive. Good, yeah. It's a good pick.
Seems like a likable guy too, doesn't he? He keeps his head down and just plays hard.
Yeah, he's probably a little bit of a red ass if I had to guess.
Yeah. Well, he's teamed up with Mike Trout, so they're going to be a duo if we ever get baseball going again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. See how
Randall, hey man, do you have a nickname, by the way? Do you ever get a nickname?
No, don't get me started on that because I'm always the one dishing nicknames, and I've always wanted one, and I've never had one.
You've never had one. I'm going to work on it. Because I do tell people when people say, "Hey, my name's Joe," but you call me Swifty. I'm like, you can't give yourself your own nickname. It's got It's got to come from somebody else. Right?
No, yeah, I don't have one. If you want to cook one up for me, I'd love it.
I'm gonna put that in the cooker, man. I'm gonna see what I can come up with because mine obviously it's just a short for my last name. It's Bull, right?
Yeah.
To the point where people they would bring their families in when we played baseball. They would introduce me. Hey, mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, this is Bull. And you're like, oh, hey, I'm Craig, and but that's my nickname. So we'll come up with something. We'll get it on. We'll get it on one of those mugs, man.
Yeah, that's the dream to have a nickname where you get introduced to the families as. So yeah, if you want to work on that for me, I would love it. Consider it done, man.
Hey, I appreciate you doing it. www.dugoutmugs. Well, let's. I don't think you're going to need any help, but a lot of people who've never seen it should see it, and it's the real deal. And I wish I had thought of it, but you did, man. So congratulations to you, and thanks for being on the podcast, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and thanks for helping me spread the word. Really appreciate it.
I'll see you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, talk to you soon. See you, man.
Okay, man.